Last class, we looked at the average proportions of the human face. So to review, we understand that the line of symmetry splits the face in half. We understand that the eye line goes halfway between the top of the head and the bottom of the chin. We understand that the face is 5 eyes wide. And to test this, we take the distance of one eye, it's the distance between the eyes, the distance of the other eye, and then works to the left and to the right, including the ears. The nose is halfway between the eyebrow line and the chin. And then the opening of the mouth is 1/3 of the way down and 2/3 of the way up, leaving room for the chin. Once you have your initial oval, okay, you need to reformat your oval because the chin takes on certain angles. Chin generally goes from a high cheekbone to the jawline, which turns into the chin and then back up on the other side. When you are working with hair, you want to work with hair as a whole. You don't want to look at it as spaghetti noodles. You want to look at it as the fact that it has a body, that it has a side, that it has a top, that it has waves, that it has lines. And working on that as a whole, okay, will really, really help you develop your texture and your hair. When it comes to things like earrings, it is really, really a good idea to use a circle graph so that you can make sure you get the shapes and the sizes just the way you want. And this will have an interior and exterior circle to show the width and dimension of those earrings. And then you have one down below as well. Plotting value in certain areas, you always want to work from dark to light. So obviously we want to pay attention, a little bit of attention to the eyes and putting in a little bit of value there. Do not forget things like the eyelid line. And the tear duct. The shadow underneath the nose. Okay, the light source is coming from the upper right. So there's going to be a little shadow just underneath the nose. And the lips will have a little bit of shadow again on pretty much on the same side. And when it comes to shading things like lips and noses, you want to concentrate on the upper lip because the upper lip will have a little bit more cast shadow than the bottom lip. And the bottom lip may even have a little area of reflectivity as light catches and glistens off the bottom lip. When you use your blending stick, be very light. At first, you can always go darker. And as you look at a face, you have certain areas of reflectivity, those areas that kind of protrude the most. You're going to have highlights on your forehead, highlights on your cheeks, your nose, and your chin. And as you begin to shade, you're going to look at those areas and keep that in mind so that it's not just not a flat value. It is going to be values that surround the form. And so if your chin is round, then obviously you want to shade it that way. Your nose, again, is also round. Again, I'll be kind of skipping around on this, so I'm just trying to hit the highlights of certain areas. And this line, which is not really a line, but is really more about the value on the side of the nose, which corresponds then to the crown of the nose, which rolls into the eyebrow ridge. And the skin tone, again, can be very light. And you can always begin to make it a little bit darker if you need to. Do not outline the lips. You want the values to stand for themselves. So if you put an edge on it, make sure that it is light enough to not show that it is a strong, strict outline. There'll obviously be some value underneath the eyebrows. On the skin. And when it comes to, we're going to tackle kind of this side of the face first with the side of the hair. There's strong value between the side of the head, the ear, the earring, and the hair. So still using a 2B pencil, sharp pencil point. As you develop the hair, you want to do it in layers. If you're doing longer hair like we're doing here, you want to make sure that you're working from the wrist. And if you go even longer than that, you work from the elbow. There's a little reflection on these earrings, so I'm going to place that in as well as the value around it. And if you notice yourself going too dark on any area of the hair, you can always lighten it up with a kneadable eraser by pulling that value away. And sometimes it'll give you the very nice highlight that you were looking for. Moving to my mechanical pencil, which just has a sharper point. I don't have to worry about continually sharpening it. And right next to this dark value on this side of the face, because the lightest source is coming from the upper right, you're going to have a lot of value, more value on this side of the face than on that side of the face. So you can plot just a little bit of value that you will then be able to blend together. Once you really pay attention to where the lights and the shadows are, it will really help you develop the reality or the realisticness of your drawing. And then you want to take that value and blend it in a little bit. You just don't want to leave it by itself on the side. You want to be able to try to blend that in. Otherwise, it'll start to look like razor burn or something like that. It won't be nearly as attractive. What you're trying to do is to develop the dimension of the face, the depth, the size, the shape, the proportion, all of that stuff. And again, if you're trying to get something to be a truly dark value, then you just need to be patient and add your layers. If you start to blend and it all starts to look smoky and inconsistent, that's just a telltale sign that you don't have enough pencil value yet. This is the value that kind of sits underneath the chin. And again, it corresponds with our light source, which is in the upper right. So just do a little bit of cross hatching. And then this value underneath the chin will help bring the chin out with contrast as well. There'll still be some skin tone over here, but it won't be quite as dark as what's in the shadow area. I'm going to move for a minute over to this opposite side because this area is a little bit longer as far as the hair is concerned, and does some other twists and turns that I think will be valuable to talk about briefly. Again, next to the face, very, very dark. That shadow in there between the hair and the cheek. And then again, these lines here, as the hair kind of cascades from underneath the chin, really should be able to flow, again, more from the elbow than from the wrist. If all I do is concentrate on the wrist, my curves will be a little bit too short and not quite as consistent. So I want to kind of concentrate on just this area here to show you how once the lines are there, that the texture really starts to take hold. Once again, if you need to develop highlights and it's gotten too dark on you, use your kneadable eraser and begin to pull those highlights back out. Remember the feathering technique? Use your pencil more or less one direction, and then you pick the pencil point up off the paper as you finish to kind of taper the line a little bit. Yes, you can blend your hair, but once again, be careful not to overdo it. You don't want to smear your texture or obliterate it by doing too much blending. You got to follow the direction of the lines. If the hair is kind of flowing in that general direction, then your lines need to flow in that same general direction. But patience and persistence are going to be two things that will be needed to see this technique through to the end. If you're trying to find something quick and fast, it's just not going to happen. And if something like this kind of overwhelms you a little bit, if you're just a beginner and just kind of starting out and saying, well, this is just too much for me, you don't have to sit down and do a drawing for 3 hours at a time. You can sit down for 20 minutes in the morning, 20 to 30 minutes in the afternoon, and another 20 minutes in the evening. And by the time you're done, in one day, you've developed over an hour's worth of work. And each time you come back to it, you kind of look back at it with some fresh eyes and notice some things that weren't quite right that you didn't see before because you just kind of got tired of looking at it. And so that's really important to do it in small chunks sometimes if you're feeling like this is just going to be a little bit too much. Kind of leaving that space alone for a moment. I'm going to come back in here, develop the lips just a little bit more. And again, always starting in my darkest areas. Where the shadow exists is where I'm going to spend my time putting my pencil the most, developing those lines and shadows, and then using my blending stick and pulling them out. The first stage is just kind of getting the values in their place. The second stage is making them the right values, making them dark enough, making them bold enough, making them stand out just enough into where they start to blend together. I haven't added any eyelashes yet, and I'm not going to, because I'm not done blending yet. So once I'm all done blending and I have the skin tone exactly the way I want, then I'll finally add the eyelashes. But I still have a lot of work to do on the scalp here and the forehead with the where the forehead meets the hair. So I'm not quite ready for that just yet. But it's starting to develop. All right, so we're going to continue this process in our next video, but this way you get to see kind of the foundation of the values and the beginning of the texture of the hair. Thanks for watching.